As you might have seen from my first video on this channel, it was a pretty big deal for me to be going to EVO Japan, not just because I've never gone to a major of that scale before, but also because I haven't been that interested in a popular main stage game for years. This time with 2XKO it was different, so I was anticipating being the only representative of Australia in this giant competition. I wasn't super happy about the team I picked, seeing as how Braum Darius both aren't top tiers and thus didn't give me the best chance to win at all, but I didn't really have enough time to change and practice other characters, so I just had to make do. Going to Japan for the first time was definitely a culture shock. It's so insanely busy everywhere, with some trains I got on absolutely crushing me between other people, but at least Google Maps saved me from needing to figure out how to get to places for hours. On the 24th, which was the first real day I got there, I attended Mjolnir number 7. This was an interesting joint offline and online tournament where I went to test my skills in a purer and more stressful environment than just from home. My first match was against Yama, a fellow Braum Darius player, although this one was off stream. It was super close, because both people playing this team results in all sorts of weird scramble situations. I still pulled out the victory, which is a good sign when I'm in this pure mirror match. Next one, I went against Nick Q, one of the main 2XKO community figures in Japan, who had recently switched from Darius Caitlyn to Akali Caitlyn. This change made him way more of an evasive and difficult opponent to hit, but I barely pulled out a win against him, which I was usually able to get easier before he switched characters. Mecha Sue came next, and it was like fighting a complete wall. He just outplayed me at every turn, which let me say is not enjoyable to be on the receiving end of. It was over pretty damn quick, but luckily this wasn't an actual meaningful tournament, so I could just take the loss and reflect relatively easily. After getting sent to losers bracket, I played against Yama again due to a bit of a lack of entrance. He did beat me this time, but it's the same as before, where I didn't really need to take the defeat too hard. Plus, Nikki ended up beating him and getting second, and I beat him, so I guess that makes me the real first place if you think about it. Just kidding, it was another great player called R-Sun who eventually won. For the next few days, I didn't really do any practice or tournament stuff, I just went around and looked at various tourist attractions. But I did try and join an online Asia region tournament from an internet cafe, and got mixed up in real life. Riot games like 2XKO require a PC restart to make their games work, but every time I restarted it would just wipe the PC there, so that really sucked. I was super excited to attend my first Tatakai Tuesday ever on the 28th of April. I'd heard about it since the beginning of the DBFZ days, so I really wasn't sure what to think when going for the first time. Naturally, being right before EVO, it was so packed, but I still had a chance to see my fellow Aussies who came for Marvel, and some people I've only met online before, like a super unique Jinx Blitzcrank sidekick player Lestat, and a 2XKO YouTuber, Evan Almighty, you might know of him, who was super chill and supportive while I was over there. It was mostly just casuals there, but I participated in a small bracket where I got second out of only 10 people to Yasuo Ari player Uncivil Ninja, who played the matchup in neutral against Braum Darius so well. 2 days away from both my birthday and the first day of EVO, I went to an event called Amazing Area. It was a fairly standard LAN-like event, other than the fact that loads of players worldwide from mainly Spain and the US came to play. Okay, maybe not loads, but it was a solid amount. The main draw they presented was a vaguely randomly selected duo tournament. I decided to play Echo because he's a really good duo character, and I ended up getting paired with a Japanese Teemo player called Kay, who I could communicate with just well enough to lab out some grab tag tech, even if we never really got to use it in a real match. We won our first match in a fight that was pretty favourable to us, even if it was tense as hell. Then we got matched up against Bleed, you know, the previous world champion, and it was just brutal. His partner was alright at doing basic stuff like using Jinx's rocket, but Bleed Solo Echo kind of rolled us. The rest of the day was just playing casuals with others, but it was when I went up against Japanese Pro to Boys Akali Echo team that I realised mine might just not match up well in the grand scheme of things. He was just too competent at running away from both Braum and Darius' 2x assists, and I had not really any reason to hope that other pros were somehow worse at the keep away game than Tsuboi, as the vast majority of pros also play like the lightweight fast characters. All the same though, I couldn't just let that stop me from trying. Luckily, I wasn't feeling 2x KO'd out yet, cause there was still at least 2 days left of straight grinding. Nikuq held a little gathering in a high up apartment just to play the game for the whole day before Evo started. It was a cool environment where I gave everyone Vegemite, just cause that's what's obviously expected for me by society. Other than that, it was just me seeing people again like Effen and Arsun, another super good Japanese player. I had mentally prepared for months for the following day, as 2XCO was a one-day event all the way from 9:30am to late at night, so I woke up extra early and took the hour-long train sequence to go to the Tokyo Big Site. It was insanely exciting seeing the amount of people following my path to get in, but I need to give a big thanks to VGD, my Marvel friend from Singapore who I encountered during the long queue. He reminded me that I needed a ticket to get in and to look for it in my email. Without that, I may have missed the tournament entirely. I went into the venue and was blasted left and right with cool things to check out, like a 2XKO booth where they gave out merch. Finally, it was time for everything to begin. I was as ready as I could be when I found my pool area. They had an interesting way of keeping track of the bracket's progress, which was by placing one staff member at each pool with a paper copy of the competitor's bracket. My first opponent was Chino Grand Hotel, an Echo Darius freestyle player. I would have liked to be able to focus completely on the match, but I was absolutely terrified of my custom keyboard controller acting up. Because previously during locals, my controller absolutely hates PS5s, the main Evo console, and just disconnects randomly. I ended up staying in training mode for up to like 10 minutes just mashing buttons to ensure that nothing funny happened during our game. Luckily, nothing went wrong, both in terms of the controller and my gameplay. I could tell he did know how to play the game, but he wasn't too hard to beat quickly, which I was really trying to do to reduce the chance my controller could bug out on me and disconnect. I was happy with my win, but I knew the real threat had just arrived. Every one of the mini pools in bracket had a designated bracket high seed, aka bracket demon, and the one in mine was Genesgod, one of the best players in Spain, and the country's representative for the then future Red Bull Duo event, so you know this was super scary going into this. This footage is super spotty, but it is all that anyone recorded for our match as it was off stream. I saw him pick Yasuo Teemo double down, and the main feature of that team is its ability to completely control neutral with Teemo's Dart Super while tagging into Yasuo, which meant I would be on the back foot most of the time. On the other hand, my Braum Darius are built around being defensive, then once they get one good hit they completely explode the enemy, especially low health characters like his Teemo. The entire first game I essentially got away with murder. I got an immediate, extremely strong advantage, putting his Teemo at 1 HP left and decided to just run away, playing as defensive as possible to not overstep and die, but that just allowed him to take advantage of me being ultra careful and not attacking. Teemo has an instant overhead that can really mess you up if you're right next to him, and Genis used it to really good effect, even getting both of my characters in a happy birthday. I only stole back the game with a lucky Braum 5M. He never decided to do his strongest tool, the Teemo Yasuo super tag, and I got a few hard reads on his defensive options, which did lead to me taking both rounds pretty quickly. I only had to win the next game, then it would be over. Darius's huge buttons got both characters in a happy birthday, which I opted to instantly level 1 to put as much damage on both as possible before he would even be able to think about bursting. He broke out of my following pressure, but I tagged his Teemo in neutral into a kill, leaving him with an anchor Yasuo who is still a super scary and well-rounded character. Luckily, Bromshield exists, so I won when he stopped running away. This was now only one round left until I won. It did go really badly right after, with me nearly getting perfected super quickly, and I wasted my burst gauge, which meant if he took the round again, it would be 1-1. It was an extremely even back and forth fight right after this, with the remaining two characters being my Darius and his Teemo. I was so tense in this situation, but this kind of situation is also what we FGC players live for. I get the push block read into counter hit and die Darius level 1 Teemo, who has the lowest HP in the game, but it leaves him at literally 1 HP. All I needed here was one hit, but he respected my block strings amazingly and countered me with a perfect level 3 reversal and baited my burst into killing me. This was one of the closest matches I've ever had, and I got hit by a hard comeback, but I absolutely could not let him take the momentum from here. The footage is super spotty, but he finally uses his biggest tool, the super tag, but I was extremely lucky and had a preemptive Bromshield up, which let me defend against his Teemo's darts and absolutely shred both characters at once, getting me the first round instantly. Round 2, Genis takes out my Darius without any damage sustained to his characters, which is usually a huge red flag. Braum by himself with no ice is probably the weakest character in the game, but I get a lucky hit to apply his unbreakable buff. After this, the footage gets even harder to see, but I'm pretty sure I just swung with a big damage armoured move and absolutely demolished his two characters, finally marking the end of that extremely stressful set, and a win for me. Just so you know, this wasn't even close to the end of the tournament. There were so many pro players here, it only got narrowed down a bit. But from here there is no footage of my following set with a few players, so I'll just quickly describe them. Me against Dotapon, his Akali Caitlyn was super unique by virtue of Double Down. I got zoned out pretty hard, and his Double Down let him cash out way harder than his team had any right to in certain situations, like off Akali's super command grab. I was so close to beating him, but lost 2-1. Although I don't feel bad about it, since literally right after that, he fought Hikari, the eventual winner of the entire tournament, and in my opinion was the absolute closest to beating Hikari all day. I watched Hikari make an impossible comeback, and I can't help but wonder what would have happened if he didn't. After getting sent to losers, I was pretty sure I would sweep the bracket for a while, because I hadn't heard of anyone I fought against. But this guy called Dommy's Warwick gave me an extremely hard time for some reason. I got pretty shook up, but I still pulled out the victory that set 2-1. After that, I was against Lily, who I'll just say I beat up pretty quickly. This put me into the third stage of pools, with the only opponents remaining being the semi-final stage, then top 8. I wasn't originally scared of my next opponent, Yasuo Ari player GX, until I was told how good he was at tech and being a lab monster, but let's just say it was an unfounded worry, because unlike Uncivil Ninja from Tatakai Tuesday who played the same team, this guy wasn't as able to chip out and run away from my bulldozing pressure, so I won pretty quick. It'd now just be one set before I made it to the semi-final stage, but now the bracket gods really didn't want me to keep going, so I got put against Chris G, a previous EVO winner for Marvel, and user of a team, Ari Jinx, that completely countered my team, which wanted to get into scrambles, not play the waiting and blocking game. Luckily, I was on a normal stream with normal footage, but it was pretty bad for me. The organisers even got my name wrong and mixed up with literally multiple other people. I have no idea how or why, so that's an extra disappointment. It was a wash pretty quickly with me losing 2-0 to Chris G and ending my 2x KO placement at 25th out of 393 people. Despite playing the big body low tiers, I can say by this point the tourney run was a success, at least to me. Who knows whether I would have done better or worse if I picked the top tier characters instead, as they are usually harder to pilot, so I may have just messed up more often and lost sooner, or I may have won the whole thing, but there's no use in going around in circles about it. Also, I guess this technically makes me the best Braum in the world, because I didn't see anyone else that got better than my placement using him. For the rest of the day, I met up with Evan and Lestat, and we watched the top 8 after hours of delays and waiting. I've got to say, that Bleed vs Wawa set in Losers semi-finals was probably the biggest display of skill I've ever seen in the game. It had all of us super hype, even if there was quite a bit less attendance in the audience due to all the delays and it getting really late. By the end of the tournament, it was like later than 10 PM, so the whole rest of the Evo hall was basically cleared out, and everyone was just leaving by then. There were still 2 more days of Evo left, but I was pretty drained. With all my focus going towards that first day, all I had left was the Marvel 3 bracket on the last day, which went about as well as I could have hoped. I didn't practice Marvel loads, as you may have seen from my previous bid, but I did try to get a bit less rusty in it, and I think it worked out pretty good. The bracket was split into 4 pools, with some really insane players from the game's history, and starting from a low seed, I mostly beat everyone I went against pretty quickly, with my low tier team of Zero, Dr. Doom and Virgil, until I came across an ultra good Zero Dante Virgil player called Spica, who I'll just spoil now. He ended up winning the entire thing, versus all the former EVO Marvel 3 champions who entered. I did take 1 game off him though, so I'll hold that small victory for now. Funnily enough, the exact same thing happened in the losers bracket, with me winning all my stuff until waiting for me in losers finals was the previous EVO winner Chris G again, who you may remember just beat me 2 days prior in 2xKO. Sorry to let you down, but I guess he's my bracket demon now because he did the same thing again, and I ended up coming 9th out of 49 entrants. That doesn't sound super impressive, but you've got to remember another EVO World Champion, KBR, got the same placement as me, losing to another Aussie Milo, who is an insane Spider-Man player. So the quality of players here were just that good overall. I wasn't able to fit time in my schedule for the Virtua Fighter tournament, but while walking around I did see some of the players, and wow, they are a completely different breed than back home. Right before leaving and finishing up with the EVO venue for the last time, I waited to see the finals of Street Fighter 6, and the staff there were not shy about getting rid of literally everything else there to have enough seats for the audience. It was an interesting experience to see all these people present in person, watching like a single set in a fighting game. That finals was cool and all, but I think I liked getting yakitori with Evan and the gang after leaving a bit more. The last main thing I did in Japan before going back home was attending a really awesome Marvel 3 after party event that I'm pretty sure was organised by Abigen. While I was there, it was just a flood of loads of people playing in an extremely cramped room, completely cut off from the outside world for hours. Other than just casuals though, we had a little single elimination team tournament where it was just first to 1 groups of 3, so you couldn't make a single mistake. I didn't take a photo of the finished bracket, but our team, just called Australia, ended up coming 4th against all these super good players, mostly because of Milo carrying us and beating KBR yet again, letting us continue just a few more rounds.
See you later! See you later!
It was also just super fun to witness the amount of Japanese people actively playing the game, while messing around and supporting the other Aussies who came for EVO in our team. That essentially marked the end of my FGC Japan chapter, taking the fairly long multiple planes home, but you know that after landing at the halfway point, I had to check if I received the Blood Moon skin set that was supposedly a reward for making it out of pools, and it was pretty funny timing that I saw it there in the horrible airport Wi-Fi exactly a week after the tournament ended. Being able to go to this huge tournament and see all these people I've met online in the Asia region, and even going beyond that to meet people from France, Spain and America who came over here too is just such a cool experience. I'll leave it there for now, but just know that I'm setting my sights on Melbourne, and by extension, Australia's biggest annual major, BAM, in July. So I'd appreciate the support on that, and if you're still watching this, just let me know if there's any interest in doing streams and stuff like that. So, goodbye!